Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay, and I'm happy to welcome a couple of special guests for this episode. First off, this gentleman's been on the show a number of times, good friend of the show and of mine, Michael Scott from the awesome Atkins Undisputed podcast and the Dana Buckler Show. Mike, welcome back to Film Strip, man.
Thank you for having me back, man. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. And first-time guest on the show, one half of the Action Drunkies podcast, the cinema drunkie himself, Robb. Robb, welcome to the show, man. Tell folks a little bit about yourself and where they can find your shows.
Oh, man, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate being on here. First of all, of course, I am the host of the Action Drunkies podcast, discussing all types of action films. With my best friend in the entire whole wide world, my brother Mac the All-Star. We discuss like all-time favorites, new stuff. You know, we get into it. It's my baby, something I've been really passionate about, and get it out there. And yeah. It's my baby.
Awesome. Mike, tell folks also about the two podcasts I plugged there for you, Atkins Undisputed and the work you do on the Dana Buckler Show.
Sure. So I am a co-host on the Dana Buckler Show, which is run by, surprisingly, Dana Buckler. I host a segment called the 20th Century Movie Club, where people come on and we recommend movies that had to have been made before the year 2000. Jay, as you know, you've been on a couple of times. Ron's been on. Robb, we're going to get you on at some point. And the guest picks a theme, and the theme can be anything. We've done something as broad as 70s movies and something as narrow as the most recent one we just did, or one of the most recent ones we just did, was called Suburban Nightmares, where Alejandra Gonzalez from Talk Film Society came on, and we recommended movies about the hell of living in the suburbs, from something as kind of horrific as Blue Velvet to something as funny as Risky Business, because they both deal with, regardless of, and that's what's really fun about it, is the themes you can really get a wide variety of movies. The other one I do is Adkins Undisputed, the most complete Scott Adkins podcast in the world, where I am chronologically going through the films of one of the all-time great action stars, Scott Adkins, with a litany of guests. Both of you gents have been on the show before. Robb, you're coming back on in a few weeks to talk Ninja 2. And the cool part is, in addition to that, I am joined by the man himself every week to talk about his experiences making these movies. And so that one's a lot of fun. I hope everybody checks it out.
It's an absolute blast, and it's no arbitrary reason I brought two action junkies on this show, because we got a doozy tonight. We're here to talk about Battleship, starring Taylor Kitsch, Alexander Skarsgård, Rihanna, Brooklyn Decker, Colonel Gregory Gadsden, Hamish Linklater, Tadanobu Asano, Jesse Plemons, Rami Malek, Adam Godley, Peter McNichol, and friggin' Liam Neeson. Directed by Peter Berg, released in 2012 on a mega budget. And fellas, to say this was a bomb and met with harsh criticism is putting it a little mildly. First off, with backgrounds with Battleship, Robb, let's start with you.
Do you want to go all the way back to the game or just the movie?
Sure, man. Either one. Yeah, I think we all are going to have both of those. So yeah.
No. I'll start with the movie. When I first saw the trailers for this one, I don't want to say I posed it or like avoided it, but I definitely gave this one a pass, because I was like, this is definitely discount Michael Bay going on here, and I was like, I don't know if Peter Berg is up to taking the reins from Michael Bay. But I definitely saw it when it came on the Blu-ray, and I watched it there, and I was like, oh, this is not a bad joint. I dig this. I dig this one a lot. It's very definitely varying in tones. You know, it's definitely serious, and then it just gets full on silly at times. I was definitely taken aback by the scene where they're playing soccer, and he misses the shot by like just like absolutely a mile when it goes, the soccer ball goes sailing over, and it's obviously played for like these hilarious, like, you know, just big old guffaw laughs and all that stuff. But then like it's also sad after, like, oh, he missed the shot and everybody's so sad, and he's supposed to be like really bummed out that it's like, okay. Like, you know, so I don't know what you're going for here, but I guess.
Mike, what about you, man?
So this was when they tried to make Taylor Kitsch a thing, right?
Yes,
you remember like that minute when that thing was, when that was, because we got John Carter. You know, I watched him in Friday Night Lights. I thought he was good in that, but he didn't really strike me as big Hollywood material. And I just thought, you know, this was one I followed the production of quite a bit, because first of all, Peter Berg has always kind of been low rent Michael Bay. And so I was interested to see what low rent Michael Bay would do with an actual Michael Bay movie. Mm-hmm. And then the idea that Hasbro was so bowled over by the success of Transformers. You know, they did G.I. Joe, which that made sense. And I actually am a defender of both G.I. Joe movies. But the idea that their next option was to base a movie on fucking Battleship was so bananas to me that I had to see it. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it when it came out on Blu-ray. I didn't have high expectations. The first time I saw it, those low expectations were more or less met until one scene in particular in which the movie turned on a dime for me. And rewatching it for this, knowing that scene was coming, it made the things that I really disliked about the movie a lot more bearable. And so, you know, it was one that I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't excited. I didn't hate it or anything like that, but it did stick with me. I mean, when I rewatched it, I'm like, man, I really remember this movie. So that's not nothing. Rob knows, I just watched The Little Things this weekend, the new Denzel joint. And man, I've already forgotten that movie. Like, I was forgetting that movie as I was watching it. And so the fact that this stuck with me, that says something.
No, it totally does. I guess I was the guy that was excited about this, and I don't know why I was, because I saw that first Transformers movie in the theaters with my wife, and it was way more fun watching my wife laugh at all the people geeking out over the Transformers stuff, because she had like no interest in it whatsoever. But I thought, okay, you know, that's about as good as that could possibly be. And then I found out they were doing this, and immediately, like, all the meme posters of like all the other games that could be like a dark action movies, Hungry Hippos, and all the other stuff that are out there. And I was like, oh, this is going to be ridiculous. But I happen to like Peter Berg's style, because I think he does marry that Michael Bayness with some good drama. I thought Friday Night Lights was a genius show. It is a genius show. And it's not because the football in it is stupid and ridiculous. It's not really how football works. It's the drama that made it work. Taylor Kitsch was great in that. But I knew he wasn't a movie star already, because I saw X-Men Origins Wolverine in the theaters too. And he's not everything wrong with that, but he's part of what's wrong with it. So I didn't think, you know, he was going to be that big a deal. But you get, you know, a younger Skarsgård. I'm down for that. And all the other people in this, I'm like, well, okay, this is like an interesting cast. You know, we got Andy Decker's wife, and we got or Andy Roddick's wife, and we got, you know, the other kid from Friday Night Lights who can actually act. And so they probably brought him there to, you know, keep Taylor Kitsch in line. And accordingly to the background stuff, that's exactly why he was hired. We put Rihanna in it. Sure. Why not? You know, and we, you know, we have this big goofy looking action movie set around a board game that could no way be cinematic in its telling. So I went in not expecting a whole lot. I just thought, well, maybe it'll at least be fun. And guys, I liked it. I liked it in 2012. I owned it on DVD. And when I saw it come up after Christmas in 2020 on sale on Vudu, I was like, oh, that's happening. And I threw it out on Twitter. I was like, nobody from Filmstrip will do this with me. I need tributes. And you two were the first two that answered. So that's how that goes on Filmstrip. But, you know, I remember the same as you, Mike. There's a point in this where it becomes a lot smarter and a lot cooler than it deserves to be. And I am waiting for that moment when it happens. We'll get to it when we get into the movie. But yeah, of all the things you could turn into a big action franchise, Battleship. I mean, of all the games that were out there, I mean, let's start running through the ideas here. Like, Monopoly, well, that's already been done. That was called Wall Street. And they made a sequel to that and it was garbage. So we're not going to do that. The Game of Life, nobody wants to be reminded how much that sucks. So we're not doing that.
That's every Sundance movie ever made is what that is. That's
exactly. Or the entire series, This Is Us. So there's that, what else are you going to do? Right. I mean, Hungry Hippos. No, we can't really sell that quite yet. So we're not doing that. We're not doing Connect 4. I mean, what's left, right? Battleship made sense. And I remember playing this game incessantly when I was a kid and all the strategy. I never had the deluxe, like electronic version. I just had the little peg version. Either you play the big deluxe version.
Yeah, I had a Star Wars electronic Battleship because of course I did.
Nice.
And I will say, I thought the electronic version was actually more of a pain to set up than it was. Like I had the electronic one, my buddy had the regular one, and we always ended up playing the regular one because it's like you had to do a bunch of setup for the electronic one.
Yeah, I remember I got the electronic one for Christmas once, and I remember I was excited about getting it, and my sister didn't want to play with me, and I was like, get my dad to play with me, and then my uncle showed up, and then they basically took over the game and pushed me out. So I got to sit there and watch these two old guys play Battleship. And they're like, when do I get to play? Like, get out of here, kid. You bother us.
Well, and I've told this on previous shows too. My dad was on a destroyer in the Navy. So growing up watching Navy war movies with him was just like a thing. We just did it. And he was one that, I mean, he could sit there and tell you like, no, that's not really how that would work or whatever. But most of the time he just kind of put that aside and just enjoyed it for what it was. And being kind of a sailor at heart, that's just sort of his thing. So, this would be exactly the kind of thing that I think he might enjoy. And I tried to talk him into watching it once and he was like, I don't think so. I think it maybe missed him by a few decades. But, like Hunt for Red October, that, Crimson Tide, like he'll go for that. But this, not so much. But yeah, I grew up with this kind of stuff. So a game like Battleship was a part of my life growing up. And, I did the rookie thing that every kid does is you put them all in one little corner together and think they'll never find me. And then they find all of you at once and it's over. But yeah, but I will say, and I will get into it when it happens in the movie, but I was wondering the whole time when I went and saw this, like, how in the world are they going to work that into the movie? Because somehow they're going to have to make some kind of reference to it, right? Even if it's passing. And the way they do, I got to say, it's pretty cool. So we'll have to get into it when we get there. But do a little plot summary here, maybe for the uninitiated. So some quick background. In 2005, a new planet is determined to be inhabitable by life. So NASA builds a communications array in Hawaii to send transmissions to it in hopes of discovering life beyond Earth. Meanwhile, a gifted yet kind of slacker human being named Alex Hopper is making a mess of his life, punctuated by breaking into a convenience store to try to impress a pretty girl. The girl's name is Sam, who happens to be the daughter of Admiral Terrence Shane, who is the commander of his older brother, Stone Hopper. What a great name, by the way, Stone Hopper. Alex's older brother obviously serves in the Navy and wants his younger sibling to get his life together. And after he gets arrested, he's given no choice but to clean up and join the Navy. So Alex does, and he actually excels in spite of being somewhat of a wild card. Flash forward 7 years, and Alex is serving as the tactical actions officer aboard the USS John Paul Jones, a destroyer, and is in a serious relationship with Sam, much to her father's chagrin. Stone is also the commander of the USS Sampson and is constantly trying to warn his brother that his maverick actions are going to get him kicked out of the Navy if he's not careful. Naval operations from 22 countries are preparing for the RIMPAC wargame exercises when 5 massive alien vessels crash the party and land in the battle zone, sealing it off with a force field, blocking most of the forces out except for a few ships trapped in the zone. Several are damaged, a bunch of people die, including Stone, and American and Japanese forces have to band together, led by Alex and Japanese Captain Nagata, to mount a comeback, while Sam and a scientist named Cal and a retired Army colonel who's a double amputee cyborg person tries to figure out what the invaders are doing on land. Eventually, they commandeer the World War II battleship Missouri and join forces with a bunch of Korean War and World War II vets to take the Missouri out to sea and deal a devastating blow to the alien mothership. They use their last cannon round to fire at the communications array on land, which disables communications between the alien vessels and their home planet. That drops the force field and allows an airstrike group sent by Admiral Shane to unload them on the remaining aliens and win the battle. And after all that action, Alex is promoted. He asks the Admiral for permission to marry his daughter, which is refused, but he invites him to lunch because, they can continue that discussion. And then we get a badly placed CCR song at the end of all that madness and a post-credit stinger where some Scottish people find a living alien. What happens? Your guess is as good as ours, because to not be continued is how this one goes. So that's about the best I can plot summary. This is a 2 hour and 12-minute movie. Honestly, it's a 2-hour movie, y'all. I mean, there's 10 minutes of credits at the end of this. And a lot of places to start here. But I think the thing we have to start with is the fact that we get 10 minutes at the beginning of this movie that I can only surmise is like in the previous season of Battleship. And we get like the backstory of these two brothers drinking at a bar. Taylor Kitsch looks like he's right off of Friday Night Lights. Same hair, doing the Tim Riggins accent, drinking a beer, doing the things that if he drank as much as he actually did on these shows, he would not look the way he does, but whatever. And he gets to hit on Brooklyn Decker, who walks into a bar for a chicken burrito or something. But we do all of this stuff on the backdrop of the opening scroll, like it's a friggin' Tom Clancy movie. In 2005, we discovered a new planet, and now we're going to reach out and try to establish life there. And in a year, they get the communications array up, and all of this stuff happens. What y'all think of the prologue, though? Because that's things that these kind of action movies always have, is like a setup.
All so that we can do like a witty reference to a YouTube video.
Yes. Yes.
Like that's, for those who don't know, Alex breaks into a convenience store to steal a chicken burrito for Sam. And they completely replicate this YouTube video that went viral around 2011 of this guy breaking into a 7-Eleven to steal a burrito. And it's just like, it's actually a thing that Peter Berg does, because he did it in Robb, what's the Mark Wahlberg Eco UAS movie?
Mile 22.
He did it in Mile 22 when Eco UAS says "say hi to your mother for me," which is a Mark Wahlberg meme. Like, it's like a Peter Berg thing that I do not understand, because that whole prologue it's way too long. And it doesn't endear us to Alex at all.
It does not. I rewatching this, I was just like, oh God, he is just insufferable at times. Like, Taylor Kitsch is a very charming actor. I really like him and stuff, but it's really set against him because Alex Hopper is just insufferable. He's just just a bro. He's just like at times, like he's just really unlikable. He's a really unlikable guy, and like Taylor Kitsch really had his work cut out for him to try to make him as endearing as possible, and he kind of does, but like there's just the character is just so I don't want to say badly written, but just like overwritten to just like, I guess the point is you're trying to make him be like this asshole that just gets he has this arc where he basically becomes the guy that everybody wants him to be. You get that, these kind of roles. But did they have to make him so just a schmuck?
Yeah. Well,
just an absolute prick.
What they did is they took the Riggins brothers' relationship dynamic from Friday Night Lights and they gave it to him and Alexander Skarsgård to squeeze into about 3 minutes. Now, it works on the show because you get 3 or 4 seasons to really get to know the Riggins boys, and you kind of come to terms with why they are the way they are, and they basically kind of got abandoned by their parents, and he's had to raise himself, and his brother who's 3 years older than him can't really do much in terms of parenting. They try to squeeze all of that into the one bar scene where it's Alex's birthday and his brother who's in the Navy sitting there drinking with him, and he's trying to be like, you got to get your life together, yada yada. The whole time they're also desperately trying to hide the fact that Alexander Skarsgård is 6 inches taller than Taylor Kitsch and everybody else in this movie, so he's always sitting down or stooping over or something like that. If you ever got to be on screen with Neeson, he could look somebody eye to eye, but anyway, I mean he is a tall dude, so they're trying to hide that, and they're trying to force feed all of this stuff. And I'll agree with y'all on one thing. one thing about the Peter Berg meme makeover with the YouTube video, it's like shot for shot. Mike, we had you on for the shot for shot Psycho episode. It's a shot for shot remake.
Shot for shot. Yeah, no, if you watch them back to back, it's identical. Like even like the panels that fall in the same place. Like they might as well have just put the YouTube video in it.
Right, and just put Taylor Kitsch in it somehow. I mean, really, it is painfully redecorated and restaged. There's that, and they're trying to throw all the stuff in, and I will agree with y'all that we don't need any of this. We could totally do that opening scroll and flash right to the soccer game scene, which is 7 years later, and catch up on all of this crap with just a few lines. Like, we really don't need any of it because nothing else, there's nothing that happens from getting tased and waking up in a tub to you got no choice, you're joining the Navy, to all of a sudden he's like a soccer star in the Navy or something before the Rim Pack episodes, and he's still got Brooklyn Decker there. Like, we didn't need none of that.
Well, and Rob hit it, because the problem is doing both of those makes him such a fucking dick smack. Like he's already a dick because of the break-in. So I'm already not on his side. And then he screws up the soccer game. And it's like, this is my hero. You know, it's one of those things. I love Tony Scott. Anybody that knows me knows I love Tony Scott. But one of the things that I blame Top Gun for is Maverick, because lesser directors than Tony Scott have tried to replicate that Maverick character, and they always end up like this. The big, you know, we'll talk about it as we get farther on. The biggest problem I have with the first half of this movie is that Alex fucking sucks. If he didn't suck so bad, the rest of this, you know, and I don't buy his transition into action hero, Captain Kirk, inspiring leader of men. Yes. But Kitsch pulls it off, you know, so I don't mind the back half. I like Alex in the back half. I just don't buy it because he's so fucking terrible for the first half of this movie.
Like, they could have done all of that stuff with him again and just had him already be in the Navy and just be kind of screwing up. Because one thing, I mean, like, it's kind of behind in there or whatever, is he was an enlisted guy who got promoted into the officer ranks at some point. That's some of his garb. And they kind of allude to that through some stuff. And I think it was cut out for time in this movie. But you could already had him be in the Navy and just kind of be a screw up. And his brother's the officer going like, man, you got to get your stuff together. And then he has this, you know, mishap with the bar, and it might play funnier. But right now he comes off like such a douchebag. Like, I don't want to root for this guy, especially at the soccer game. He gets kicked in the face by the Japanese captain, which that'll come back later. Har. And then he's like, no, I'm taking the kick. And it is hilarious the way he blows it, Rob. Like, you set that up in the beginning. It's awesome.
He's just like the scene that strikes out to me the most is the scene where, like, he's basically he's you know, after the captain is killed and he's the most senior officer, so he's now in charge, and he decides to do a suicide collision.
Yeah,
and
he's gonna ram them.
He's gonna ram them like on the suicide thing, because, you know, he's pissed off that the aliens killed his brother, and they're like, there's sailors in the water, and he's just like, go as fast as you can. It's like, dude, you're a dick. You're an absolute fucking dick.
See, and that's a mistake this movie makes too, is they kill off the brother way too early. Like, I understand why you need to have that moment where what happens is, and we jumped ahead a bunch, but the Rim Pack exercises are happening. They're on their two destroyers. He's already been told he's going to get run out of the Navy because the Admiral hates him for a lot of reasons, and because he's a screw up. And so he's trying to figure out, you know, what to do next or whatever. And they tell him, hey, this weird thing just popped out in the middle of the ocean. Go out there and figure out what it is. You know, not the SEALs or the Marines, you tactical line officer, go figure that out. But sure. Okay. So we get him and we get Rihanna on a boat with the other big dude that, you know, is going to be useful later in the plot because he can weld and stuff. And they go out there and he touches it, and like him touching it somehow or another turns it on or whatever. And then that's when the force field drops and all hell breaks loose, and they blow his brother's ship up. And I got to say, the alien ships in this aren't really anything to marvel at. but the weapons they use, y'all, are pretty damn cool. Like they have these rocket things that land and then shoot through stuff, which is kind of like some of our tank rounds actually work. And then they've got the saw blade, transformers from hell that they shoot at stuff. And all that stuff is pretty cool. And I get why you got to blow the brother up in front of him because it kind of, ignites him into action or whatever. But I almost would have liked it if Stone had somehow or another gotten off the boat and they reunited on the boat and kind of together went and kicked alien ass.
Yeah, totally. I also will bother me about the brother gets killed and like his emotion after seeing this, like he literally watches his brother get blown up and he's just like, oh, it's like wow, way to show your brothers, mourn your brother right there. Not a single tear at all. Just, oh man, oh.
Well, and the other problem is because they spend so much time making Alex a dick, I don't buy that Sam gives a shit about him. Right. I don't buy that Stone gives a shit about him. Like, I don't buy these relationships at all. And so I feel nothing when he's angry. It's like, contrast it to Coming Out about the same time. I know it's not a movie that's loved by everybody, but Chris Pine, the way he plays Captain Kirk in Trek 2009, where he's the same character. He's brash and hotshot. He's always on the edge of getting fired. But it's like, you understand why, because he grew up in a shitty, broken home, and you understand his relationship with Bruce Greenwood. You get why he does everything he does, whether you agree with it or not. And so you buy when he finally becomes leader of men, you buy it. Here, you don't, because I don't know why Alex is a dick. Why is he a dick? All I've got right now is he's just a dick. Was he beat when he was a kid? Was it a broken home? Is it because he could never live up to Stone? Like, I don't know why he's such a fuckstick, but he cannot
live up to Stone because first off, your brother got the cool name. He's a foot taller. He's a lot cooler. I mean, I do think there's some good humor that Peter Berg's playing on us, that we've got a Canadian and a Swede playing American brothers in an all-American Navy war movie. So there's a little bit of that winking and nodding, but no, you're right. There's no reason for us to like him. Moreover, it's like he brings Sam that, chicken burrito thing while he's being tased. And the look on her face is she just falls deeply in love with him over that moment. And somehow over the next 7 years, she doesn't get tired of his bullshit. Really? I'm sorry. No, like that is not how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I have fucked up way less in relationships and they have not lasted 7 years. Let's put it that way.
Definitely.
I will give Peter Berg credit for this though, because as her character is written, Brooklyn Decker is giving nothing to do except look pretty. And she does get one scene with the Army colonel, who is a real badass in real life. The guy lost both legs, part of an arm, and was one of the first people to get those kind of prosthetics where he can walk more with a more normal gait and stuff. Totally got cast because Peter Berg saw him in a National Geographic photo, not even a story. Just said, that guy, I want him in the movie. And he had to convince him to do it. And that guy is awesome. And she plays good off of him, but she is supposed to be like the Megan Fox character in the Transformers flicks, right? Except I'll give her credit for having a little bit of heart and a little bit of depth just beyond her looks. But boy, she is given nothing to do for most of this movie.
Yeah, definitely. He's actually my favorite character. I liked him a lot. He definitely. I'm glad Peter Berg was able to convince him to do it because I really liked his character a whole lot. He was absolutely fun. The movie should have been about him if you think about it.
Right? Yeah.
I think I would have liked him as the main character a little bit.
Or giving him more to do when he's on land.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, and there's part of me that I'm not a big, anybody that knows me knows I'm not a big fan of the sort of military propaganda that Bay and Berg do. But I'm not going to lie, it really works in this movie. I mean, bringing all the actual vets, the Korean and World War II vets back at the end, which we'll talk about, and the authenticity of it works, which is actually one of the other things that drives me nuts about the start, because unfortunately, you guys know what I do for a living, and I have had to ruin a handful of military careers in my life for much less than breaking and entering into a convenience store. So the idea that he could do this and then sign up in the Navy is like not even remotely close to reality. You know, I've had people get bounced because they got busted for marijuana, you know? And so it's just like not breaking into a 7-Eleven for a burrito. I'm pretty sure the Navy's not going to take you if you do that. I'm sure there's going to be some Navy guy listening to this that's going to be like, "Oh, I broke into a 7-Eleven and I got it." You know,
I think if you were 18, which is what we're supposed to believe, that Hopper's like turned in 21 or some nonsense, but if you were a kid, maybe like you can stretch that. But again, we've already said like the backstory doesn't work and it's not a good setup for everything. And then the soccer game is just a big joke. But when the aliens land, like I want to tell y'all how I've always read this is that, you know, they receive our communications. So as most things go, they figure out how to hack it backwards and they're more advanced, right? So they start listening in and they go like, "Hey guys, the Americans are inviting all their friends and they're going to have like a war. Let's go play too." And then when they show up and they start sinking people, they're like, "Oh shit, y'all weren't really going to fire on each other? Oops." I mean, that's how I read it. How do y'all take it?
That's a good way of looking at it. I definitely could agree with that. Yeah, like the aliens are. I like the alien stuff. Like it kind of reminded me of you know, we were talking about Hasbro choosing this as their supposed next film franchise, and a lot of it, like when you think about it, it's not even there's one section that's actually Battleship, you know, and then when you consider it's not even really Battleship because they're destroyers. It doesn't become Battleship until like the last 15 minutes of the movie, but yeah, like most of it kind of I did a rewatch of this earlier in the week. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Virus. In a bit,
yes, the Jamie Lee Curtis joint.
Yes. The 1999 Jamie Lee Curtis bomb. That she calls the worst movie she ever made. It's like, have you seen Christmas with the Cranks, honey?
have you seen Halloween Resurrection?
oh yeah.
No, she's not in the bad part of that one, I will say. But,
yeah. Definitely.
But no, you're right though. It is kind of out of nowhere with it, but I like the aliens in this. I like that they're kind of humanoid, but they have a weakness. They can't look directly in the sunlight, so they got to constantly wear the glare mask. They use that a little bit in the movie. They don't really use it enough, I don't think. Or they didn't use it cool enough. Maybe they couldn't come up with a good enough excuse. And, you know, solar rays aren't as cool as, you know, firing off cannons, so they're not going to do that. But I thought they were kind of neat. And I wanted to ask y'all, though, what is their, like, goal? Are they here to, like, do the Independence Day thing and take over the resources of Earth because it's so similar to Planet G? Or did they come down to play the game and they're like, "Oh, well, I guess we're the only ones playing for real"?
It definitely seems like they're doing the old we're evil just because, and we're here to take over the planet. You know, but I like your theory better that they just thought that, "Oh, we're gonna here play games." It's like, "Oh, you guys not here to play? Oh, well, you know, fuck it, you know, I guess we're just here now, so let's just do this."
Yeah, we get the Independence Day knockoff psychic. I've seen their thoughts. I know what they're planning to do scene.
Yeah.
Which is just ridiculous because there's like no indication that these aliens have psychic powers whatsoever. I almost have to think that it was an intentional nod to Independence Day. I will say the ships just look like Transformers, but even though this game came out later, the Destiny ass looking costumes, outfits for the aliens are really fucking cool. Like the helmets are really cool. The way they look is, I really like the way the aliens in there. I think when they take the helmets off and they're just CGI frogs, essentially, isn't really that interesting. But with the helmets on and stuff, they look really badass. Like I will give full credit to the character design of the aliens in their outfits. They're really cool.
I've always thought of them as like Avatar's white cousins, or something, or what these aliens look like. That's kind of what they look like when they take their faceplates off, and especially when the colonel who finally gets pissed enough goes into fisticuffs with one of them and beats the living shit out of him and knocks literal teeth out of him, Rocky style. I did think that was great.
I'm going super nerd, but there's an episode of Deep Space Nine where they go back to an old original series episode and the Klingon makeup, and they ask Worf, and he's like, "We don't talk about it." That's what the Na'vi are like with these aliens. They're like, we don't talk about them. We don't bring them up. It's a sore subject.
We don't bring those up. We're not going to talk about these people. They broke off a long time ago. They clearly can't tell the difference from simulation to reality. but I will say again, I do think their weapon tech is cool. Like those two primary weapons they've got are pretty awesome.
Yeah, most definitely. I like all that stuff. That whole rig that they shoot, like just a garbage disposal kind of tech.
Yes.
It seems like high-tech garbage disposal that they shoot. I like that stuff. It's like, why didn't you use that more often? That seems like they seem to have no defense against that anyway, like until Liam Neeson decides to become useful in the movie, which is like the last 5 minutes of the movie where it's like you forgot Liam Neeson. Like honestly, on this rewatch, like every time Liam Neeson shows up, it's like, I'm like, that's right, you're in this movie. I keep forgetting.
3 days, right? He cannot have been on set longer than 3 days for this movie.
Not at all. And doing absolutely one scene where he's trying to sort of shade his accent, and then he's like, fuck it. And he just talks like himself. And it's like, Qui-Gon has got a lot of medals. He can barely stand up on one side. It's just ridiculous amounts of, military garb he's wearing over there. He's there to do a couple of speeches, to yell at Hopper once, to go, why can't we get through the force field, and then launch some planes at the end? And that's kind of all he does.
And that's probably like to the movie's detriment. Like you had Liam Neeson in the movie where he was white hot. Like this was like, what, 3 years after taking hit, and Liam Neeson was prime, like in his second win of his career, was just becoming the premier action hero. And you put him in here, and he's like 5 minutes in the movie, like just nothing to do, but like just give like speeches, and like he has that one scene. It's like, I want everything loaded. And it's just like, yeah, that's the Liam Neeson you want to see. And then he just disappears for another 40 minutes.
Well, until then he's at the end, and he tells the kid, like, no, you can't marry my daughter, but I have a special set of skills I'll talk to you about over a hamburger. And all of that, where I'm going to make you disappear, Hopper. But he has nothing to do with it. And that's the problem here is Taylor Kitsch is fine in this when they give him somebody interesting to work next to. God, that's not Rihanna. Okay, like, poor girl, that is not what she can do in this movie. I do like the fact that they don't cast her as kind of a eye candy role or whatever. Like, she is straight up military girl. Like, she's hardcore and stuff, but she's almost a little too much Rambo. It's a little scary. It doesn't quite work. Taylor Kitsch is really only good when he gets around Jesse Plemons, who again was only hired to make sure Taylor Kitsch could act in the movie. Yeah. They desperately needed somebody for him to work against. And I liked the character of Nagata.
Yeah.
I mean, and I thought they needed to put that guy in there sooner, because when he comes into the fray, it actually lets Taylor Kitsch kind of sit back and relax and not have to drive the story. And Nagata's the one that comes up with the what will basically be the nod to the game Battleship. We have no radar, but neither did they, but we can do this weather detection off of these buoys, these tsunami buoys, and that's how we'll learn how to fire at them. So it's grids and it's B-12 and the whole bit. Guys, I got to tell you, I thought that was cool. I've always thought that was cool. I thought that was a great nod to the game and a neat way to work that in, and it not be like the climax, but to be like the apex of the second act.
Yeah, most definitely. I definitely agree. I rewatching, I'm like, why didn't they just, Nagata, he's, like they established that they're antagonistic toward each other, and after his ship is sunk, he comes on board. You kind of could have made this almost like a buddy kind of thing between the two of them. Like, they're antagonistic to each other. They kind of hint at that, but then they really don't follow through with it. They become buddy real quick, and I thought that they could have used that as the way to make it a little bit more tolerable for at least Hopper's character, where he has the Nagata to bounce off of, kind of like a 48 hours kind of thing, but they had other things on their minds.
Well, we do get it a little bit, when they're sniping and stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, I think the only real reason Nagata works is because Tadanobu Asano is a goddamn legend. I mean, the guy is a fucking legend. If you've never seen Takeshi Miike's Ichi the Killer, the guy is a Japanese acting god. And so he's able to bring, I think, an inherent charm and likability to the role that's not necessarily on the script. I am going to disagree a little bit with you, Jay. I actually like Rihanna in this. I think she's pretty great. I certainly think it's bullshit that she got a Razzie for this. I mean, the Razzies are fucking bullshit anyway. Fuck the Razzies. But the idea that she's not even the worst actor in this fucking movie. No, is she the worst actor of the year? And she does. I think she and Kitsch have pretty good camaraderie. I do think it's ridiculous, much like Star Trek, that your captain, your acting captain, is the one running around on decks with machine guns trying to kill the aliens. Because it's if he's dead, then we're really fucked. Exactly. Jesse Plemons is the senior officer, and nobody wants that. But I am going to agree. I think the Battleship scene, for trying to work a board game into the movie, it's clever as shit. It's cheesy and it's stupid and it's ridiculous. And it's also really fucking clever and really awesome and a lot of fun. And I love, you mentioned the aliens, one of their weapons, they look like the pegs, the ones that hit the ship and then blow up down in it. They look like the pegs from Battleship. I actually think the stuff trying to incorporate the board game is some of the best stuff in the movie, because it's so out there that a $200 million movie is going to stop so we can play Battleship for 5 minutes.
Yes. But it's awesome the way they do it. And it makes Nagata immediately cool, because we're supposed to hate him, or we're supposed to think he's just as big a dick as Hopper is, when in truth is he's actually knows what the hell he's doing, and Hopper's an idiot. But we're supposed to like it. And Tadanobu Asano is so good at just taking over the screen in those quiet ways. He doesn't get demonstrable. He doesn't get loud. He's like, pull up the radar. I know what I'm doing. And he lays it all out for him. And he's right. And he has to think and do math and figure all that shit out. And I like it. And it does make him and Hopper work better together. There's a great scene at the end, and I'll go to it now. Hopper has this whole thing where he talks about I've read The Art of War 6 times. I don't get it. And Nagata's like, that's a Chinese book, by the way. I'm Japanese, you jingoistic asshole. But okay. So, that's what he says in his face. But then at the end, when Hopper's like, Art of War, go where they're not. It just finally clicked to me. And Nagata says, that's not even what this means. You didn't even get close. I like that they have that humor that carries over. He's like, oh, shit, really?
Well, it's also the first time we get actual Hopper not being a dick, because he gets Nagata explains everything and Hopper goes, Captain, my chair is yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in the entire fucking movie Hopper has shown any humility. And when Rihanna looks at him, he just goes, it's what my brother would have done. There's more character in that 10 seconds than there is in the entire movie leading up to it. It's okay, this is one of the things that actually pisses me off about the movie, is if you can do shit like that here, why weren't you doing it for the whole fucking movie? Sometimes good stuff in movies like this makes me more angry, because it's you are capable of making good character.
I said at the beginning, there's a point when this movie turns for me, and this is it. At this point, the movie becomes total fun zone for me from here on. I like everybody. I like all the characters. I go for their ride. Up to this point, I've been just sort of kind of getting there, right? I'm just going to give it this and I'm going to get to it. It's like watching old WrestleManias. You got one good match early and then you got a bunch of crap and you just got to kind of get through it. And here comes the clown and all this other junk. And okay, but now we're going to get serious. Now we're going to get the Intercontinental match. And this is it. And this is the one where like it really, really starts to take off. I'm showing my age into how the WWF used to book, but I mean, that's what this is like for me. It's like watching that, and this feels like that turning point for me. This is okay. Yes, from here on out, this movie's going to be badass.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to go back to that a bit. You definitely showed the age of all of us with the fact that you mentioned the Intercontinental Championship. The Intercontinental Championship has been meaningless for like how long?
Yeah, but it used to not be.
Yeah.
It used to matter, darn it.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing. It's got to be that turning point in the second act to get us on board for the ride that we're going to have to take for the third act, because this works. They've taken out like their second alien vessel with this now. This is getting serious for the aliens. They're like, okay, shit, we can't keep screwing around with these guys. And it's also where, it's about to go bad for them, because the John Paul Jones is about to be toast when this is over. They get absolutely waylaid into oblivion at the end of this movie, that part of the movie.
Yeah. That actually is like one of the better, I think my favorite visual moment. Like when they get the device, the weapon, the garbage disposal, as I like to call it, that one, like when it's coming together right before it's shot out is cool. But also the destruction of the John Paul Jones is like as they're climbing up,
it's the Titanic again.
Yeah. Like as it's exploding,
it's literally being sawn in half by that transformer looking thing, and they do the Jack and Rose and jump off the end of it together.
Yeah. That's probably my moment. Yeah, that's probably my favorite visual moment of the movie, it getting sawn in half as they jump up. I like that part a lot. I like stuff like that.
And it's punctuated because you got Sam and the Colonel and the scientists back on the mainland who have saw this or whatever. And I love the Colonel. He has a great line. Again, for a not actor, he's awesome in this. He's like, relax, I see plenty of lifeboats. He's fine. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's on one. We don't know, but okay, sure.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and I love that he's like, he gets his badass moment because he's like, how good are you at driving? Let's go buy him a day, and that is the thing. This is the turning point. Now, it's not the scene for me. It was this time, but the first time I watched the movie, I was like, I had engendered so much bad will leading up to the playing the battleship scene that it didn't buy me back. What bought me back was great use of Thunderstruck or greatest use of Thunderstruck, because fucking the vets coming back to launch the Missouri. I'm even getting like choked up talking about it now is so fucking incredible for one of these kind of movies that I was like, oh shit. Am I a Battleship fan now? Like, have I spent an hour and a half not liking this movie? And all of a sudden, do I love this movie instead? Because it's like, they launch the Missouri. We get all the old guys coming back, and their rapport with all the new cast and stuff is great. And like Rihanna comes in and she's like, what are you doing? And they're like, we need some help. Come on. And, and there's no like bullshit and stuff. And it's just, it's fucking beautiful. It is so well done.
Oh yeah. My second favorite moment in the movie is old timer going because they've established that they do that cutoff thing right before they say like the cuss words motherfucker. The old timers let's drop some lead on those mother, and they cut it off. I love that. That's my second favorite moment in the movie.
Well, you've got that. You've got Thunderstruck going. Mike, you're absolutely right. Greatest use of Thunderstruck in a movie. They let it go exactly like it's supposed to. And look, we got to call it, the score in this movie is great. This is Steve Jablonsky, who's one of Hans Zimmer's disciples, so it's very Zimmer-esque. But whoever did the music construction did great work up to a point. I'm going to pick on the CCR song at the end, but the Thunderstruck song here is badass. It totally is. It completely works. And you get what I love love again is, like you said, all the rapport that everybody has for each other with this, right? They start getting it together. We're going to make this thing work. We're going to pull all this together, guys. And they're getting all the stuff together. And it is hilarious to think about. We need a ship. The only thing we got is the Missouri. It's kind of a museum. It's got enough fuel in it to do a training run or whatever. It's also got a lot of ordnance on it, which is hilarious kind of bullshit that I love this kind of movie to do. I grew up in Alabama. You go to Mobile, you see the USS Alabama. It's a cool thing to see. There ain't no ordnance on it though. All right. So they don't do it that way, but you got to get I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you that because you did the cool battleship thing. I'm going to let you have the fact that they still got live weapons on this old thing. And all these old dudes are going to get to kick some ass. And it's a lot of fun to watch the battleship go out there and to start taking shots at the alien craft. And it's some good Hopper moment too, though, because here's where he starts doing, I mean, y'all, the stuff he does with this battleship is the kind of shit Tom Cruise does with an airplane, in Top Gun, except it would actually tear the ship in half. Like, that's an actual thing to drop the anchor and let it swing around. That works on a small ship. On a battleship, an Iowa class battleship, it would probably have torn it in half.
Yeah, but it's so it's fucking
awesome.
Great, Jay.
Oh,
it's
great.
Like the fucking Fast and Furious e-brake maneuver is the most Captain Kirk shit ever. And the way he's telling Nagata, you're right, we're gonna die, you're gonna die, I'm gonna die, we're all gonna die, but it's not gonna be today. I was so fucking in. I was all in at that moment in this movie. It is one of those moments in movies that is, my friends Brian Sauer and Elric Kane have a podcast called Pure Cinema where they talk about all sorts of stuff. And they would probably be offended that I'm going to use this term for Battleship. But that moment is pure fucking cinema. It's the type of shit that reminds you why you love movies in the first place.
And that's actually my number one favorite moment of the movie is we're all going to die, but not today.
I mean, it's the same thing Tom Cruise is telling Tim Robbins, like, I'm bringing him in close. You're going to do what? And then I'm going to hit the brakes. He's going to fly right by. And son of a bitch, if he didn't fly right by, and he shoots him. And the battleship cruises right up. And you see the alien guy going like, what the fuck are they doing now? And then the king is just unload on him, man. And I mean, it's just a bombardment. And they're totally taking this thing out. And what I like is that the alien ship is basically like lurching to death, but it gets one arm up to shoot the trash compactor back at everybody, Rob. And it fires 3 of them at him, and he's got 1 shot left. And he tells Rihanna, nope, shoot the satellite dishes on the land. We're going down, but we're going to take out their communication relay. And he makes the right call. He does the thing you want Hopper to do. It's the moment that he's supposed to come around. I ask you both, though. Has he earned it at that point? Is that an earned moment for him to do that?
I don't know if he's endeared us enough, but he's definitely come around enough by that time to go ahead, Hopper. Yeah, like you did the right thing, but you're still a dick for all the bullshit you
This is kind of counterintuitive. In a better movie, no, he has not earned it. In a movie like this, where it is ticking boxes, he has earned it because this is the box we're waiting to get for, right? We're waiting to get to this box. And so there's almost a sense of relief that we finally got there. And on top of that, I don't care because, quite frankly, I am a sucker for fucking fighter jets coming in and saving the day at the last minute. That is like, inject that shit into my veins. Like, my favorite scene in Air Force One, which is a far superior movie to this one, but my favorite scene in Air Force One is still when, all the enemy fighters come and you see all the F-15s, they drop all their fuel tanks and they fly and they go right around Air Force One. I am such a fucking sucker for that shit. My dad worked for the Air Force. I used to go to the Air Force Museum all the time. I will never not love fighter planes saving the day. So it doesn't matter to me because I was just fucking bouncing off the walls when those planes showed up. And, and we do get the nice scene of Hopper telling Nagata, it's been an honor honor to serve. And no, of course they haven't earned it, but it doesn't matter because it's a cliche and cliches exist for a reason. They fucking work. And the last 45 minutes of this movie works. It just fucking works. There is nothing wrong with the last 45 minutes of this movie.
It's exactly what we want. Because like you say, Liam Neeson shows up and that is actually useful. And he sends three fighter planes, take out the entire, what's left of the alien fleet. They bomb the hell out of that ship that's remaining, send it, to the depths. And what we're to believe is that when they shoot those satellite dishes, they've cut off connection to like the homeland. And, I don't know if they were bringing them through like a trench or what was going to happen. If they were coming down like the evil overlords and Howard the Duck or what the fuck was about to happen, but they cut off the communication. The alien threat is done. And we move forward to the second greatest press conference in this movie. The first one is where they take Barack Obama after a tsunami and work him into the movie, like he's talking about this stuff. And then we get Liam Neeson going like, "Well, the president can't be here today because he's busy doing real work, but he sends his regards and all this other stuff." And I'm sitting there wondering, like, does anybody acknowledge the fact that we just killed a bunch of aliens? Or are we just going to blow this off as like swamp gas? That's the funny part is they never copped any of what happened.
No, like, I thought about that immediately. Like, you would think that this is the problem with using real life president as the president of your movie is that, obviously he cannot be there for your movie, but then it's like, why wouldn't he be there to celebrate the men and women who just saved the fucking world?
Right? Everybody, the Japanese premier would be there.
Because he's too busy dealing with Alex Jones calling the alien invasion a false flag.
Yes. Catch him in bed with an alien. That's going on. Well, I'm really glad you saved the world. Thank you very much. Please cut your hair, Hopper. Good luck with what you're going to do. What I love is they promote Hopper to lieutenant commander, and then some Navy SEAL comes up to him like, "You ready to start being a real man?" And all this. I'm like, "No, I'm going to go command a boat in Cuba. No, I've had enough. Thank you, but no. I'm going to go marry Brooklyn Decker. Have you seen her? And I'm going to go do that. No, I don't care what Liam Neeson says. We'll elope. Hell with it." But then we do something here at the end, though. This makes me mad. I hate it when movies use music wrong. And if you're trying to do it ironically, that's one thing. But Peter Berg and his people put the friggin' Fortunate Son song in here because they think it's a badass kicking song. It's the most anti-war, anti-military song you could get next to Born in the USA from Springsteen to put in here. And I can't prove this, but I swear Daughtry wrote a song called Battleships that I swear was written for this movie and somehow or another didn't make it in here, but it totally fits the movie. It would have fit it perfectly. And some cool person on YouTube cut it together with scenes of the movie. I'll put the link in the description of the episode. Go watch it because it's a better song. And it's not better than the CCR song classically, but it's better for this moment in this movie. This bugs me. I hate the fact that Fortunate Son gets dropped here. We should have another AC/DC song, like for those about the rock or something like that.
Yeah, there's 1,000 AC/DC songs you could have used. I don't know if maybe they didn't want to, rip off Iron Man because that was kind of Iron Man's shtick. But no, I mean, Fortunate Son is a song that has been misused in so many. It was misused in Die Hard 4. It was misused here. It was misused in Suicide Squad. Like, it is a song that has been misused. It is an angry anti-war song. And it just, I'm with you, Jay. Sure, it works because it's a fucking banger. Like, I mean, as far as just a visceral feel, the song's a fucking banger. It's CCR's best song, in my humble opinion. But boy, in a movie that's entirely military propaganda, using Fortunate Son is it's offensive.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
What the fuck? Dude?
Yeah,
it's
just not paying attention. Like that's what's bad about it is you're not paying attention to what's going on. And look, I know everybody's gonna be like, did Jay just friggin' say Daughtry should have been in this? Yes, because it would have fit the motif of this movie so much. I'm telling y'all, go listen to that song, and it's a love song about you're gonna keep fighting and and battleships, and that's what this movie's trying to be too. Is this pseudo love story amongst this goofy ass action Transformers ripoff, and It would have worked better. I'm just saying it would have worked. There's a billion songs that would have worked better, but that one feels like it was written for it and then got pulled out by the studio or something.
I just pulled up Fortunate Son on Wikipedia, and it lists the things it's been used in. So movies, it was used in Forrest Gump when he's in Vietnam. All right, that's okay. The remake of The Manchurian Candidate, that's okay. Die Hard, Battleship, Suicide Squad, that all sucks. War Dogs, I guess that's okay. But also in video games, Battlefield, Bad Company 2, Call of Duty, Black Ops, Homefront. These are not like things that should be using Fortunate Son.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's a bad placement of a song again, but I'm sure it's there just because it's got that kick and beat and that great riff, and that's what we're going to go out on. But did either of you hang around for that stinger scene, that the bit in Scotland where they discovered the landed alien?
I did, because usually I like to hang around for the credits, especially in movies like this, because they always try to pull something like that with the, I mean, stingers in credits have been a thing, but like it seems to be a popular thing now ever since Marvel.
Yes.
The MCU has become like the juggernaut it has, no pun intended. When you have like something that is intended to be a big franchise, you always got to have the stinger in there, like in the mid-credit scene. And yeah, I did, and it's like wait, especially it's funny, like when like how badly this movie did. I'm not laughing at the expense of the movie, because I always want a film to do well, because as a fan of cinema, I always want a movie to do well, regardless how I feel about it. And I always disappointed when like a movie does bad. Especially, I did want to bring up Taylor Kish. I feel bad for Taylor Kish that the fact that you had 3 major movies like that come out in the same year and they all were failures.
Yeah.
it was like, it's gotta suck, and you had 3 chances to turn you into a big Hollywood leading man, and they all fucking just.
I'll tell you though, if you haven't seen it, Paramount Network produced it and then Netflix got it. That Waco miniseries where he plays David Koresh. Now it purports some things that are absolutely not true, but he is awesome as Koresh, and that he's become like a good character side person. I don't think he's a leading man, but I think he's got a career on TV and stuff like that. He's resurrected himself a little bit since the 2012 blew up in his face, literally.
Yeah. 2012 was definitely just a bad year for him. But my father watched that, and he was a big fan of that, because my father's interested in stuff like that. And I think he's found his niche. He's really more like I definitely shout out to this one. He's one of the best things about the American Assassin.
Yeah.
He's really good in that.
He's good in Lone Survivor.
He's used better than Scott Adkins in American Assassin.
Oh my god, dude! That is that is probably the worst thing about that movie. We will not get into it, but that is the worst thing about that movie, is how badly they use Scott Adkins. But yeah, I just wanted to focus on that for a bit. It sucks. You had 3 major attempts to turn you into a major leading star, and you just got fucked all 3 times. Just back to back to back like that,
I do also want to shout out, he's also in that the firefighter movie Only the Brave, that is actually with Josh Brolin and Miles Teller, and is actually really fucking good. Yeah. If people haven't seen that one, that is a really, really good movie. And I'm not saying that ironically or anything. It's just good. Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to be fine, and in fairness, it's not like Hollywood needs another square-jawed white guy as a major lead. So I would rather the roles that he was getting go to people who aren't him. It's that I feel about him the same way I feel about Sam Worthington, and that they're probably better as character actors, and they're great in those roles. And yeah, it's a good career. So I'm with Rob. What a shit fucking year, man.
Well, look, guys, in Terminator 2, there's a reason Robert Patrick is better as the T-1000 and not the lead, right? We've seen that throughout his career too. It's sometimes you're just made for certain things. So
right. Me and Mike had that conversation recently about Chris Pine, about whether Mike had the perfect analogy about Chris Pine, about him being like have the Brad Pitt syndrome.
He's a character actor trapped in a leading man's body. Like Pine is a beautiful specimen of a human being. I mean, one of the best lines ever in any Chris Pine movie is in the first Wonder Woman when Diana says, "Are you considered attractive?" And he goes, "I'm above average," you know. But he's clearly so much more comfortable when he's being weird or quirky, or even a movie like Hell or High Water, which is great. And he is the lead in that movie, but that's not a leading man movie. That's not
an ensemble.
1984, right? Like that's a character piece. He's so uncomfortable. You know, even though I like the movie, just watch him in Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. He's so uncomfortable carrying that.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that feels like Kitsch might have been the same way. You know, Riggins was part of an ensemble in Friday Night Lights, and he's so fucking good in that show. But then you watch him in John Carter, and and I think John Carter is actually a movie that's gotten a bit of a bad rep. It's not perfect, but it's gotten a bit of a bad rep like this one has, and certainly like Savages did. But he's just so uncomfortable being the lead, being forced to the front. Whereas you put him in American Assassin and he gets to kind of fly in, do some cool shit, and then fuck off. He's a lot more comfortable and he's a lot better at it. And so I think that's just, sometimes we try and turn these, you know, semi-famous square-jawed white guys into the next fucking Tom Cruise or Chris Hemsworth, and it's like they're not meant for that. That's not where their talents lie. Right. Just because it's a white dude that had a modicum of success, stop trying to make them a fucking superstar.
I call that the Bruce Willis syndrome. You know, they turn Bruce Willis into like this action star with Die Hard, and then they feel like they could do that with every, like, you know, white guy coming in, you know, like, oh, he's we can make me, you know. They did it with Alec. They tried to do it with Alec Baldwin in a remake of The Getaway.
Oh God, I remember that movie. Yes, I saw it in theaters. Oh, it's horrible.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's that moment to do that stuff, but I mean, let's be honest. The best Die Hard movie is the commercial he made last year. It's the best one in the last 20 years, at least. And so, you know, we've tried to do that with a lot of people, and it just doesn't quite work. Skarsgård's another one too. You talk about a really cool character actor when he doesn't have to be the lead. He can be freaking ferocious and scary, man. That guy has got some intensity. He is great, but don't ask him to be the lead, dog. It's just not what he does. And he's an imposing force.
Hey. Like, don't go too far into that. My mother, I can't tell you how much my mother loves him in Tarzan. Like my mother, like, she really loves him in Tarzan. Like, you bring up Tarzan, oh my God, I loved him in Tarzan. You know, like she's really into, like, every time Tarzan is on, she's like, oh yeah, Tarzan. Like, she called me earlier today talking about It Chapter 2. It's like, who's playing Pennywise? And I was like, Bill Skarsgård. Who's that? I was like, he's a brother of Tarzan. It's like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. Well, guys, it's time to bring this one into port. So what are your final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn ratings for Battleship? Mike, we'll let you start first.
I thought long and hard about my popcorn ratings on this one because it's such a movie that's all over the place. So ultimately, what I'm going to go with is I am going to go with a medium popcorn with a shit ton of extra butter and a little bit of those cheddar cheese, that little cheddar cheese powder that you put on it, and a couple dashes of a good hot sauce. Because I think there are too many problems with this movie for me to give it a large popcorn, but God damn, I just have so much fun with the final half of this movie that I can't say that it's not a recommendation. But you gotta slog through some stuff to get to the good stuff on this one. And I do think ultimately it's worth it, but you gotta slog.
All right, Rob, what about you?
I will share Mike's sentiments about the medium popcorn. Not a, I don't know if I would go all in with the hot sauce. I've never tried that one, but
I know I'm sitting there writing that down. Like, ooh, gotta go.
Oh, it's real good. You put a little hot sauce and you mix it up in a bowl, and it gives your popcorn a little kick. It's real good.
Yeah. I definitely medium popcorn with extra butter and a little bit of extra salt. I'm definitely going the film has a lot of problems, especially the fact that this is the main character you chose to lead us. You had Liam Neeson there being awesome, and then you chose to go with this guy as your lead character. But it definitely turns around and it works, and it's a lot of fun. The action sequences are a lot of fun to watch. Destruction scenes, especially if you're into that destruction porn kind of thing. Michael Bay, Roland Emmerich kind of thing. They have really fun destruction scenes going on in there, and yeah. If you're into that sort of stuff, this is right up your alley. But like I said, there's a few problems, but you get over it by the last couple, I would say 40 minutes of the movie, and it's a good one. It's a good one. I enjoy it.
Guys, I got to tell you, this movie holds a distinction as being only the second one out of all the ones we reviewed on Filmstrip where I feel like it goes through 3 phases of popcorn before I finally get to my final rating. The other one is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Follow me. It starts off as a small popcorn and like a bad one. Like, oh, this is nothing of what I wanted. This is all going wrong. This is not going to be a good day on Donahue. And then it picks itself up because I kind of come around on the main character and like, okay, you're kind of a sleaze, but I can go with you because I have to. And there's some other people around you that seem to be kind of interesting. And the main bad guy's kind of neat. And I'm kind of going there. And then it gets to that third act where it drops fucking AC/DC and they drop the anchor. We swing the boat around and we start kicking all kinds of major ass with the greatest generation all the way up through a bunch of fucking millennials. And we're all kicking ass together and we're not getting mad at each other about this, that, and the other. Everybody gets accepted. The Navy loves everybody. And we're all here just to kill everybody, including the Japanese guy, because it's cool now. And we're all going to get along and we're going to wipe out an alien species and we're never going to mention it on the news. That, my friends, is a large popcorn. This movie resurrects itself twice. It does it in the middle when we start playing Battleship for reals. I'm like, oh, we're in medium popcorn with butter and salt and the whole nine. Yes. And then it does that third act where there's not only all the cool action, but there's actually some good character stuff. There's fun stuff between Hopper and Nagata. There's cool stuff on the land with the army colonel and the girlfriend and the useless scientist. And all of it kind of works. And it comes together in a culmination where I go, the first 30 minutes of this movie, you just put it on and I don't know, flip through Twitter on your phone, doom scroll for a little while, look up every now and then, you kind of see what's happening. And then when they start talking about sonar buoys, put your phone down because it's about to get cool. And then you just get in and then you just plug right in for the end of it and you ride the whole way through. It is totally worth it. I'm giving it a large popcorn because it rescues itself in the third act. And that is hard to do for a big budget, dumb action movie like this. And it's supposed to be dumb. Okay. Don't get me wrong. This is not Citizen Kane. And I'm not trying to tell you that it is, but it resurrects itself to that third act when it just goes batshit crazy, just like Halloween 3. So large popcorn for me.
Yeah, you got to stick the landing, right? It's always better. I will give me a movie that the final third is spectacular and the first 2/3 are not great over a movie that fucking shits the bed at the end. You got to stick the landing. If you stick the landing, I'm probably going to leave it with pretty good feelings. And that's how I feel about Battleship. I was just fucking Alex Hopper the whole time. And then the Battleship and Thunderstruck and the fucking Dom Toretto e-brake maneuver with a goddamn boat. Like, it just was like, I'm in it. I'm in it. Yep. I'm all in. I'm good. Let's do it.
It's totally all of that stuff. And it's why that stuff works. So,
you could kind of fuck with it 2/3 in, but like if your final third is just spectacular, like Mike was saying, it's fine. It's fine.
Guys, this movie is 3 Motley Crue albums. It's Theater of Pain in the first act. There's like one thing maybe you kind of like in there. It's really the girl, the ballad. Then it's Girls, Girls, Girls. It's like, oh, shit, this is actually pretty good. It's not good for you, and these guys are probably going to die, but it's pretty good. And then it's Dr. Feelgood in that third act. That's what the third act of this movie is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I might have gone with Kickstart My Heart for the third act, but either way.
Yeah, it's that song for sure. But that is the lead song off of the best Crue record. So it's Dr. Feelgood. Well, guys, it's been an absolute blast having you here on the 299th episode of Film Strip. Holy cow, 11 years in. Can't believe we've come this far. Rob, tell folks how they can follow you and find your shows.
Oh, of course, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the Action Drunkies, YouTube. We have nothing on our YouTube channel but a trailer for RoboCop, which was our first episode, which we hit a milestone. We hit 71 plays on that one, which is it's amazing to me how two schlubs from Brooklyn, New York, me and my brother from another Mac could come in and just start a podcast and just get the as much love and appreciation as we did. Yeah, Action Drunkies, you're my baby, and Mac, you're the best co-host in the world. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, the Action Drunkies. God bless you all. Thank you all for listening, and I really appreciate you all.
Rob, you got another show too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, I am a permanent panel member on The House That Screams, a horror podcast with one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world, Candy Allison, the hostess with the mostest, as well as House_Screams on Twitter. You can find Candy the Final Girl on Instagram, as well as Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. And yes. If you're a lover of everything horror, check out The House That Screams.
Absolutely. The links to the show will be in the show description. Mike, tell folks how they can follow you and all the awesome stuff you're doing.
You can find me occasionally, actually, on the Action Drunkies. You can find Adkins Undisputed on Twitter at Adkins Podcast. I am also on Instagram, but I don't post very much because I fucking hate Instagram. There's Adkins Undisputed. You can find the podcast anywhere you can hear podcasts. You can hear me with Dana, where we talk about all sorts of movies, almost none of them Scott Adkins related, at the Dana Buckler Show. The easiest way to find that is to go to Linktree/Dana Buckler Show. And you can hear that podcast anywhere the podcasts are available. Personal Twitter is at Hibachi Justice. So that's usually the best way to find me.
Again, links to all of that in the show description. Rob, Mike, thanks again for coming on and being a part of this show. Folks, you can follow the show's social media at FilmStripPod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. There you'll find announcements about upcoming shows and a link to our Letterboxd page, which has our entire list of reviews. Go to filmstrippodcast.com. You'll link to our Anchor.fm distribution site, where you're going to find us on your podcast platform of choice, Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it, we're there. Please share the show if you can. Leave us a positive review. It helps other people find the show. And for Rob and Mike, I'm Jay. Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
Thank you for listening to Film Strip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Film Strip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.